This is an SM Media production.
Hi folks, and welcome to the episode of the SM Media Pro Wrestling Show. I'm Scott Pike. It's a pleasure to be your host as always. We are delighted to be joined by, in this episode, a very special guest. Please welcome to the show, Rubi Roberts. A pleasure to welcome you on. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. How you been?
Yeah, good. Busy. But yeah, no, very good. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's always a pleasure to come on and talk about a very quiet period this week. There's not been a lot happening, has there?
No, not really. Well, in the grander scheme of things in wrestling, no.
No, there has not. Obviously, we're recording this just after the Queen's passing, so condolences to the royal family and thoughts to everybody who's been affected. But the wrestling world has been very busy the past couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Yes. We've had so many things happening recently. We've had the Clash at the Castle. There's been a lot of local shows. There was ICW tapings recently, and then there was also the Girder show at the weekend as well.
Yeah, it's been very busy the past couple of weeks. But we'll touch about Clash at the Castle first of all. Obviously, it's been great to see the WWE back in the UK for the first time in 30 years. We did a review show on it last week, but
yes,
I'll be quite happily talk about it again because it was one of the best shows I think I've seen in a long time. Did you enjoy it?
I did. I have seen most of it, and the bits that I've seen, I enjoyed so much. Like seeing the WWE coming back to the UK, like you said, for the first time in 30 years, and it just being such an absolutely fantastic, entertaining show. Like, I'm really hoping that it means that going forward, we'll maybe get more pay-per-views coming back to the UK.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to throw a wee fantasy booking thing at you, right? And I don't know if you're into this, because this week on the website, we're going to throw out a fantasy booking challenge. We're going to do, how do you end the title reign of Roman Reigns?
Oh.
How do you do it? It's tough, isn't it? Because now, was Saturday the perfect way to end it? Could you have had, I thought Drew was winning.
I thought Drew was winning as well. I was very surprised. Like, if I was a betting woman, I would probably have put money on it. I genuinely thought he was going over. But I think I've sort of talked to a few people about this recently, and I feel like if it becomes more of a thing, if he keeps going and becomes this juggernaut in wrestling, then it's going to be a case of you're going to need somebody of equal status, or like equal or higher status, to like take him down. Personally, just because I'm a massive Rock fan, I would love to see, you've got that family connection, cousin v cousin. There's all the drama around about it. The Rock hasn't wrestled in ages. It was so good to like see them come up against each other and just have like an epic battle.
I think with that, yes, I think if all the stars align, I think that's the plan.
Yeah.
But how do you then, has that happened again?
No, I'm saying fingers crossed.
All right. If you do that, if you go towards Rock and Roman, how do you then get the title off the Rock?
Yeah. I personally am an enormous Attitude Era mark.
Yeah.
Like, I love the Attitude Era. That was my heyday for wrestling. That's when I grew up. So my ridiculous brain would love to see some people come back, just have some ridiculousness, have a couple of people have it, and then have somebody who's obviously in the roster now to maybe take that off them, maybe have like a double cross or something where it ends up back in the hands of somebody who's regularly wrestling in the company. But I would kind of love it to see the title take like a wee detour across a couple of old names and then come back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I would like to see that myself. I would love to see Roman Reigns versus The Rock. I would love to see it. I think that would be the main event, the WrestleMania Hollywood. That's how you do it. That is.
Yeah, it's like, for me, that's up there with like when you had Kane versus Undertaker. And it was such a big thing, and there was such a good family storyline with it, and I feel like it would be on par with that, if not even better.
And we've seen before, I mean, Heyman's there. Roman can talk as well. The promos would be amazing. Like, there's
definitely Sorry, I was just thinking, like, could you imagine the two of them riffing off each other? Like, The Rock's just got such a natural way, and it just flows so well. And then Roman's so good as well. It'd just be entertaining to see them promo each other. Never mind actually fight.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Have you got many stars that you can build up? I mean, I've been thinking about it. I've got two I want to present to you, but you can obviously do the theory thing. You can obviously just give Roman a very hard match and Theory swoops in.
Yeah.
The problem with that is, though, I think we've seen with Liv Morgan, I don't think it works most of the time. I think you're just waiting. I think it's just going to be a transition thing until somebody else comes back. What about Theory? Do you think that could be a way to go down?
Potentially. I hadn't actually given that too much thought. Potentially. I'm not really sure actually what I think about that. Sorry, that's a crap answer. But like,
no, I mean But I think the Theory things changed. I think Theory got the Money in the Bank when Vince was there, and now you're in a different role. It's a different era. How do you do that? Because I just don't know about that. I've thought about it, and the other one's Cody.
Right, Cody's one that I've thrown his name out when I've been having this discussion with a couple of people. When Cody came back in the reaction, like honestly, I was out to watch Mania and see when he came on, the reaction that guy got was it's unreal. It was so much electricity and excitement going on, and he's such a good wrestler that I think actually like that could be fantastic. And also, I love the fact that there's always a story to what he's doing. There's always a reason for everything that he does, and I love that because you can see how things are thought out, and I'm really sad. I love all that side of everything. See the storytelling and not just the moves. I love that. It's like telenovelas with violence. But I think Cody and him would have an amazing match. I think that would be fantastic, and I also think that you could get a storyline out of that wasn't just one match. You could get like a whole array of things leading up to like him taking the title off him.
With that as well, you said there the story makes itself. You get this guy who's back. He's been injured. He's had to go away because he's had to go away and rebuild himself. And I mean, it makes total sense. But is that the road you go down? I think it is. I think that would be the way I would go. I think the other one, there's another weak sneaky one there. Do you go with Riddle? Do you go with Braun Strowman's obviously back? There's so many. There's so many, but are they believable?
Well, see, that's the thing for me. The way I always think about it, because I love the storytelling so much, is like, how would the story play out? How would that work? How would you plan all of this so that it works in a way that's going to be the most entertaining for everyone? And everybody's got their merits and everybody's got the thing that they're really good at. But for that title, for that specific thing, I do feel like it needs to be somebody that's can talk their way out of a cardboard box if they need to, just but also has everything to back that up. And I think The Rock obviously being your sort of dream version, Cody, I think is the next closest thing. We've obviously seen Roman and his name's just completely Seth Rollins. I don't know what happened in my brain. Seth Rollins, we've seen them wrestle a lot, so I don't know if you would maybe get the same sort of level of excitement, enthusiasm if it was them fighting for it. But I think Cody would probably be, of the guys that are still in the now, I think Cody would be my guy.
The other one, I've got one more, but I think this one takes a lot of, I think you completely, as you say, the double cross, I think you completely change everything. Do you give it to Karrion Kross? You certainly could.
You could. I mean, like you said, you would need to go down the sort of double cross route. But that could work. I'd want to see that, regardless of whether there's a title on the line or not. I want to see that.
I think since he's been back, he's been built like a monster. Gunther as well. There's another one you could do it that way, but I think that would take a bit longer. I think Gunther's in the perfect position, and now his match with Sheamus was amazing.
They've got such a good thing going just now.
It was my match of the night, hands down. We do have a number one contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Ronda Rousey won the Gauntlet match. That was booked perfectly. That was
I enjoyed that so much, and I loved as well the fact that they had Liv sitting there watching the whole thing, all the drama of it. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed that match, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them face off for this belt. I really want to see how it all comes together, the way that it's sort of, because you've got obviously Ronda, who's like legit MMA, and then the way that Liv wrestles, I just want to see it happen.
Yeah, and you've got Chyna in there as well. There's maybe something in that, like
Yeah.
There's something in that bit. Right, AEW All Out took place over the weekend, and for obvious reasons, obviously, after the show was more eventful than before the show, but we're not going to speak about it for a legal perspective. But it obviously ended with Punk winning, but MJF coming out. That was done well. That was done really good as well. I think if obviously what happened after hadn't happened, that would have been the main talking point by a night.
It's a shame because it has kind of overshadowed it, but I was happy to see that match, and I love CM Punk. Like when I was younger, he was just a straight talking, takes no swearing, take no shit guy. Absolutely loved everything about him, and then obviously he was away, and now that he's back, I am loving the in-ring stuff. I'm loving seeing him come back to wrestling, and I'm just enjoying the whole thing, to be honest. It's brilliant.
With MJF, obviously the story writes itself. He's back. He done that amazing thing with the voicemail as well. I don't know if you've seen that. That was the way he came back.
I think I've missed this.
He presented a voicemail from Tony Khan, like saying he would pay him so much money, and then he would come back, and then he took the mask off. It actually worked well. It was done well, but obviously plans have probably changed. Obviously, Punk's been stripped of the title because of injury, we're being told. It's obviously changed things because I would imagine it was leading to Punk MJF again.
Yeah.
The Grand Slam tournament's obviously up. I think we're going to have Danielson against Guevara and Jericho against Moxley. Who wins that? Who do you think's do you give it back to Moxley, or do you? Because I would go with Danielson. I think Danielson MJF would be something I'd like to see.
I would go with Danielson. But again, I love Bryan Danielson, everything that he's done. Just the way that he wrestles really interests me. I love it. Yeah, I want to kind of talk my way through my answer, but basically just I love Bryan Danielson.
It makes sense. I mean, it's a tough one because you've got this thing of Moxley. What was the plan before that? Because obviously you've took the title off him, you've given it back, you've took it off him again. I thought Jericho Danielson was a really good match as well. I really enjoyed that. It was probably one of the few matches I enjoyed. I really enjoyed Ishii against Kingston in the pre-show. If you've seen that, that was a really good match.
I didn't see that one, but I want to see it. It's on my list of stuff that I need to get watched.
That is good. But as I say, with a busy weekend because Worlds Collide happened as well. Did you watch that?
Yeah, I didn't actually. That was the thing. I was at shows at the weekend as well, so I've been trying to sort of catch up on it when I can in between everything. But I'm slowly getting there.
What about the NXT UK thing? Obviously, it's changing to NXT Europe. I think that was the kind of culmination with the titles kind of merging together. It mainly resulted in the kind of US guys like Braun Breaker, Mandy Rose, obviously one as well. What do you think of this new plans for NXT Europe? Obviously, I would imagine your ambition would have been to get to kind of NXT UK. Like, what's it like now, kind of from your perspective? Do you think it's still promising?
Well, from my perspective, it's not really changed a huge amount because my plan was always wrestle in as many different countries as possible, travel as much as possible, and just wrestle as much as possible, and hopefully get the chance to be put in front of NXT UK. But obviously it's NXT Europe now. At the moment, I'm focusing on wrestling in the UK and Europe, so it's not really changing my plans much. It's actually just kind of pushing me to keep doing what I'm doing and keep trying to get into as many countries in Europe as possible, and then expand hopefully to as many countries all over the world.
And see as well, obviously from another perspective, like there's been so many guys been let go from NXT UK. Does that open up to more opportunities to work with guys like that? Because there's a lot of really talented wrestlers left.
That's the thing I've noticed, that there's all the talent is starting to show up on shows, local shows again, which that means that there's more of an opportunity for people like myself who have come into it in the sort of last year or so to get a chance to wrestle these guys. And learn from them. That's the biggest thing for me. Like, I want to wrestle as many different people as possible, at as many different skill levels as possible, just so that I can learn from them and try and get as good as I can get. So it's quite an exciting time for sort of myself and other people who are sort of coming up just now, because it is giving us that opportunity to wrestle people who've been to different companies, they've worked for WWE, people who have got experience that they can then share with all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And also, final bit of news, ICW Fear and Loathing, the main event is set. It's going to be a 4-man elimination match.
Yep.
Kes Evans, Leighton Buzzard, Craig Anthony and Stevie James. Really, really exciting.
I actually don't know who my money's on. I was thinking about this earlier. I want to say Leighton. Like, I think he's been doing so well recently. I've been
really
following what he's been doing. He's just smashing it. But they all are. That's the thing. They're all operating on such a high level at the moment that, like, I feel like I'm almost just picking a favourite. But I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
It's what you want, though, isn't it? There's so many guys in there that you think. Craig Anthony coming back as well. I thought that was a big one. Leighton Buzzard, he's kicked on massively in the past year or so. His rise has been unbelievable, and Kes has been a good champion as well, to be fair to him.
Kes has been great. Like, again, he's another one that I've sort of been. Obviously, I'm keeping an eye on who's round about, what everybody's doing, trying to keep myself, especially with the local scene, like try to keep as up to date as possible, and also seeing what people are doing that's like working, like what's going over just now with crowds and that. So I've been watching Kes as well. I've been watching all of them, to be honest. That sounds so creepy, but like I've been keeping an eye on like what they're doing in wrestling, and Kes has been brilliant. I saw him at the weekend on the Girder show actually, and so entertaining and just really lovely to see the way that he wrestles. I know that sounds really weird, but like I can appreciate the way he moves about and everything. It's just so crisp and it's brilliant. But everybody, they're all on such a good level.
Yeah. What about the Girder show at the weekend? How did you enjoy that?
Oh, I loved it. It was so good. It was so good. It was so entertaining. I don't know if they've released the results yet.
I think they have. Well, I've seen results, but I don't know if they're out. But
right, okay. But yeah, no, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed. There was so it kicked off with a tag team match. So we had Anastasia and Sugar. What's his name again? My head's completely
Leon
off.
Graves.
Yes. And then you had Shay Monet and Nicole Jasmine, and it was really entertaining. It was a really good match. I enjoyed it. It was really good to see Nicole Jasmine as well. She's absolutely smashing it just now. But it was really good. Trying to think who else. Leighton's match was fantastic. Just entertaining from start to end. Just constant go, go, go. I absolutely loved it. You had Molly versus our tag partner, Casey. That was excellent, although it did time out. I was really wanting to. Do you know that way you're watching it and you're like, I don't know. They're like, which one of them could? This is so equally matched and so well done. I have no idea who could go over. But then time limit, so I'm hoping to get to see the second installment of that match soon.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, there's a story there as well. That's what it's saying. There's a good story aspect, and that's
exactly. It's tag partners fighting each other. You've got all that history there. You've got a personal connection, a personal relationship, and it just makes it so much better, and I get so much more invested.
Definitely. But we'll talk about yourself and obviously your career so far. You said there, obviously, you were an Attitude Era fan, as we all were. That time was so crazy, and obviously you had the Raw Nitro thing. Were you fully Raw?
Yeah. Oh, I was fully Raw. Fully Raw. I was a WWE Wayne. I absolutely loved it. I couldn't see by it. For me, when I was younger, I was obsessed with Chyna and Lita.
Right.
Like, obsessed. Because I remember being a wee girl and seeing, especially Chyna, because she didn't look like anyone else. I remember like seeing her fighting with the guys and doing her own thing and just existing the way she wanted to. And I'm like, I want to do that. That is what I want to do. Exactly that. So I then sort of got into obviously like DX and that whole thing, and I actually found out about Nitro through that whole thing where like I very distinctly remember DX going with a wee mini tank and like crashing through, and that was the kind of first real inkling that I got as a child that there was even anything going on, because in my brain I'm just going wrestling.
And was it all, even then, was it like always the ambition, like you always wanted to do this?
Yeah. I started wrestling much later, because I didn't actually know that you could do that here. And the area I was in, there was no, I lived in North Ayrshire, so there was no kind of facility there for it. And it wasn't until years later, I think it was about 2010, I originally found out about Source Wrestling. And I'd been taken up there, and then I got an injury. I had to have shoulder surgery, and it took a long time out. But yeah, like, it was always something that I wanted to do. I actually used to get into trouble constantly for wrestling with my brothers and wrestling with the boys at school, just trying to wrestle anybody that would let me. But it was always something that I really wanted to do. And then when I found out I could do it, I was like, yes, damn straight. Who wants a boring job? I want to do that. So yeah.
Aye, and as you say, obviously we're both from Ayrshire. It wasn't a thing like you heard about it, but you never really, like, it was always kind of Glasgow kind of thing. Like, it was never like, and there wasn't obviously as many opportunities as there would be, say you stayed down south or whatever, but it was that thing, like, you knew it obviously was a global thing, but you knew it was something that happened overseas. You didn't really see it here.
Yeah, I think I just always assumed that you had to go to America to do it when I was younger. Wish I'd known. I always say this, see if I'd known at a younger age, then I would have gone straight there. Like, I used to do gymnastics when I was younger. I was like a national swimmer. I used to do judo. I was like very active, and see if I'd known, I'd have been straight there. I'd have probably sacked everything else and just been like wrestling.
You mentioned there about injuries and things like that, and kind of struggles. What were they? How hard was that to overcome, and how kind of big was the relief when you kind of felt you were over that hump?
It's actually a complicated question. So when I originally got injured, it was actually at my workplace at the time, so it wasn't a wrestling injury. I fell down a set of stairs and ripped my shoulder out and ripped my rotator cuff.
Right.
So unfortunately, at the time, it meant I had to stop wrestling, and it actually turned out, I found out a couple of years after that I have a condition called fibromyalgia.
Right.
So that's like a chronic pain and fatigue condition, and I actually had gotten to the point where by about 2017, I kind of weighed like 19 stone nearly. I had a walking stick, and I like literally had like next to no mobility. And it was my cousin Rubi Roberts started his own school and had kind of suggested that I want to try wrestling, just the training, as a way to try and rehabilitate myself, bring my mobility back a bit. Which seems completely nuts when you say, I have a chronic pain condition, so I went to go do a really harsh contact sport where we throw each other about. But like, I kind of went, we're a bit in pain all the time anyway, might as well have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, 4 years later, and I'm 8 stone lighter. Basically completely mobile now. I don't need my walking stick anymore. But yeah, it was really difficult having that period where I couldn't wrestle. Everything got like really bad physically, and then to be able to start wrestling again and basically have that be the thing that's completely changed my life, it's made it even more meaningful to me to be able to get to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when you say there, obviously about it gave you your mobility back. Like, it's that thing. It's something you've wanted to do. So it's that thing as well. You're pushing yourself, but you're pushing yourself in a way where you know the result's going to be better for you. So did that what it feel like at the time? Did it feel like it wasn't just a physical struggle, but a mental struggle?
Yeah, very much so, because when I first started back, like I said, I had the walking stick, and I went to my first session, and it was a full week again before I could walk properly at all to be able to go to training. So for the first 6 months, it was a case of I felt like I was just battering myself, because you would go to training on the Sunday. I would give it my absolute all. I would try my best. And to be fair, that wasn't great, because at that time I basically started off with everyone who is like not affected by any kind of illness or injury starts at zero. I felt like I was starting a way off down here.
Yeah.
So it was very disheartening at points, because progress is very, very slow. So
Mhm.
you kind of do feel like you are just hitting your head off a brick wall. You're just in pain all the time. But after sort of 6 months, it starts getting a bit easier. Like you said, because it was something I loved so much, it gave me that motivation to keep pushing through that and pushing through the mental barriers of, I'm too tired, I'm too sore, I don't think I can do this. Because I loved wrestling so much and because I had that support network of the trainers at Respect originally, it meant that I could push through that. And I'm so glad that I did. And I'm so glad they kept kicking my arse to do so.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and obviously as well, the kind of landscape of wrestling's changed so much in the past couple of years with COVID and things like that. Like, have you kind of, for when you started to now, have you seen like a massive difference, like in the way the businesses are run and how hard
Yeah.
how different it is? Obviously, COVID's happened. We've had, obviously, it's been a weird couple of years, but
Yeah.
have you seen a kind of change in terms of training and things like that? Has it been so much different?
It's been a bit different. Yeah. Obviously, with COVID happening, we had to look at how we were all doing things, what's the safest way to do things, so that you're not only thinking about physical safety, you're thinking about like cleanliness of areas, like making sure that nobody's going to catch anything, making sure that everybody feels safe. But I think it's been for the better because also it's caused everyone to sort of come together and it's almost caused this sort of better atmosphere, I feel, where everybody's a lot more positive. And because we all couldn't wrestle for a while, it's meant that we're all really appreciating it. Like, as soon as we came back, the first thing that happened, as soon as we were allowed, obviously, was everyone had a big hug, essentially. Every time I saw someone else from wrestling that I hadn't seen in like 2 years nearly because of COVID and everything else that was going on, it was just such a happy experience to be able to see everybody again and train again, that I feel that even though it was awful, it's caused this almost like joy, really, like people being so happy to be back in training spaces and be back just doing the thing that they love and being able to interact with people again. Because I would say most people in wrestling are fairly social creatures. We all like to interact. We wouldn't really do wrestling otherwise. So being able to actually get to interact with people again, it was just amazing.
And get into the kind of in-ring side of it, like, do you remember your kind of first couple of matches and what it was like? Like, what kind of sticks out for them?
My first match, my first singles match was actually the 27th of August last year. So I've just had my sort of debut anniversary. And it was Emily Hayden, and I was so nervous. I remember standing, waiting to go out the curtain, and everything from the top of my head to my feet was just vibrating, like shaking. But I was so excited and I was so like overly ready to just be like, right, I want to go now. I want to go now. And it went by in such a blur. Like, it was so quick, but it was just fantastic. There's nothing like it. And I couldn't go back now. I want to do this for the rest of my life, even when I'm old and decrepit. Like, there's nothing like coming out that curtain and just seeing all these faces just light up, or, you know, not light up, depending on what you're trying to portray to them. But just seeing all these people and feeling the energy that comes off them because they're so excited for it to happen as well. It was excellent. I'm trying to think. My first few matches were Emily Hayden, actually, across a couple of different companies, which was interesting because you're then constantly sort of having to rethink, and how am I going to work differently? How am I going to do this differently? And it sort of gave me a good opportunity to really work my way through the problem, if that makes sense, and really have to think about it. So like you have to learn on your feet, essentially. And I loved it. It was really good.
What about the kind of people you've worked with so far, like promotions as well? Like, who's kind of stood out? Like, where's been your kind of favourite places to work so far?
So I'm trying to think, because I also don't want to play favourites too much. One of my favourites, actually, just because they gave me my first opportunity to wrestle abroad, was CCW, Copenhagen Championship Wrestling. They gave me my first ever international booking, and it went, for the most part, it went really well. There was a slight incident. I might have possibly broken a girl's nose, but yeah, no, it went really well. The crowd, it was the first ever women's hardcore match in Denmark. They'd never had one before. And it was such a, I don't even really know how to describe it. It was very much like, was very much like ICW like 10 years ago atmosphere.
Right.
It was very much like that, and it was brilliant, and it was a really good opportunity. And they've had me back over a couple of times this year. Trying to think. So I was wrestling Lexi Lux, the first time, and thankfully she was not too perturbed about the nose, and we will be wrestling again hopefully soon. And then Elena Morgenstern the second time, and it's just been such a fantastic opportunity. So they really have been one of my favourite companies this year, just because it's been such a different experience, and they really took a chance on me and gave me that.
Brilliant. What about the kind of opponents so far? Like you mentioned there, Emily. Who else has kind of stood out as kind of good opponents so far to watch?
So if we're talking homegrown, Brody Adler actually. Brody Adler, I got to wrestle her for W3L in May, and it was so much fun, just battering the hell out of each other, like just having fun, kicking the crap at each other, and then having a handshake at the end and being like, that was good, like that. But yeah, no, she's so much fun to work with, and I'm really trying to push to get more matches with her in as many different companies as possible, because just I really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. What about the kind of ambitions going forward? Like you mentioned there, obviously it's took a bit of time to get into it. Is it the plan is obviously just work as many places as possible and get as much experience as you can?
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of jokingly say when people were like, who do you want to wrestle? I was just like, everyone. Absolutely everyone. I want to wrestle as many different people as possible, all genders, different sizes, different styles, different countries, everything. Because for me, the only way I'm going to get better and get to be the best version of myself as a wrestler as I can be is to just do that, work as many different people as possible, and also obviously keep training as hard as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right, we're going to close in the quick fire round. I'm going to put you in the spot. Are you ready for this?
No problem.
Right. Give us 3 dream opponents you would like to work with in the next year.
Oh, the next year. Right, okay. I'll give 2 realistic and 1 completely unrealistic. So realistically, this year I would love to get to wrestle Molly Spartan for a start. I really want the chance to wrestle Molly. She's absolutely dominating at ICW just now. She's been on the scene for a while. I've admired her for ages, and I would love the opportunity to wrestle her. Also, Gia Adams.
Okay.
I have seen her wrestle for the last few years. I got to, when I was still training, before I got to do shows, I used to go and help out at as many different companies as I could, like just offering a hand. And she was one that I saw wrestle, and I was just like, I want to wrestle you. I think that is going to be amazing. I would love the chance. And the third person is a completely mental one, but I have very sentimental reasons, and that is Dewdrop. I would love, because there was just before she went to NXT, I nearly got the opportunity to be in a show with her. Right. But obviously COVID happened, and then everything else, and it just wasn't possible. And then she's now doing fantastic on one of the biggest stages in the world. So it's probably unrealistic, but I would love the chance to get to wrestle Dewdrop.
Very good. Favourite match you've had so far?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think my favourite match so far was W3L. It was myself and TJ Rage against Emily Hayden and Craig Stevens. And for the most part, it's my favourite match because I got to slap Craig Stevens clear across the face. And it just made me so happy. Mostly because he was pulling my pigtails, but I still enjoyed it.
Very good. Who's your favourite wrestler in the world right now?
See, I'm going to have to say The Rock, but he's not working just now. But I was just that kid who was obsessed with The Rock when I was younger. What currently working? Becky Lynch.
Good answer. If you get 2 contract offers from WWE or AEW, what one would you sign?
Oh. If they were the exact same time and there was no difference in them?
Yes, look, exact same time. Two pitches from Tony Khan and Triple H. Who would you go for?
WWE, because like I've said through this, I am massively story driven. I love it's like I said, telenovelas with violence. And I feel that just out of the two products, WWE does that slightly better. Whereas I do like AEW for what they do. It's just not quite story driven. And for me, it's all about the drama.
Yeah, I'd agree. If you had 3 people to start a faction with, who would they be and why?
Of anybody or like realistically?
We'll go 2 realistic. We'll do what we did with the dream opponent. 2 realistic and 1 out there.
Right, okay. So realistically, I would at the moment from this sort of area. I've talked about this before, but I'd quite like to start one with Big Benny.
Right.
Benny and I trained together. We were both at Respect at the same time, and he is my favourite gobshite on the planet. That boy can talk forever and just like no thought. He'll just straight into it. He's so intelligent. I am not the best talker, so 100% him, just so that I can be like, talk at them. Just on you go. I would also, there is a wrestler from Sweden who I have gotten the chance to be on a couple of shows with called Seb Silvers, who again I would love to have in a faction. And the third person would probably be Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley right now is one of my favourite women. Like, I don't want to talk about her too much, which is why I've not really brought her up too much, because I can go on a little bit. But I am loving the storyline they've got on just now. I love the 180. That when she came in originally, she had the blonde hair, blue eyes. She was this like proper baby face looking lassie. And now she looks like she could kill anyone. And I just love that. Also, I'm a massive Motionless in White fan, so the fact that she's basically mirrored their style just makes me happy.
Yeah,
but yeah,
she's been so impressive recently as well, and I think there's so much legs in this Dominic thing as well. Like,
definitely, and like, so I was saying about Chyna before, and she very much did things her way, and I've seen a lot of people liking Rhea Ripley because obviously physically she's quite similar to her, and they're doing a very, very similar thing where there's no rules for Rhea. It's not a gendered thing. She's just getting in and doing it. She's just wrestling, which is my favourite thing about what she's doing right now, is there's no gender to it. She's just wrestling. But the storyline they've got going with Dominic, the fact that they've now turned him to their side, the whole faction thing, just all of it, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good as well. 2 more. Favourite film?
Oh, that's a huge question. Right, so I have so many different ones categorized for different reasons. I'll say, right, my favourite film overall, I'll say is Scream.
Okay.
It was the first ever horror movie that I saw, and I instantly was like, oh my God, I love this. So it's not a good film, but it's my favourite one because it was my first horror.
Okay.
Other than that, it's too many different subcategories.
Very good. Final question. What is your dream arena to work in?
Oh. Do you know what? I'm going to be completely unrealistic. I would love to do Madison Square Garden one day. Like,
We've asked that 3 times and that's been the answer.
Yeah, like that's the dream. That is the big world stage. That's the one.
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
Brilliant. Ruby, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me. No, it's been great. I've enjoyed talking. Thank you.
Thank you.